from here, guys. I think we should just go from here and as someone earlier said, wing it, which we don't do at the 77 or 77 publications. Not at all. We plan everything meticulously, even when I'm going on holiday and forget the date, and then these guys are. You should see our message board on our WhatsApp. It's been crazy today. So apologies to everyone, but anyway, here we are. You'll be seeing this on the 15th of May, which is a lawless day, and by that time, all of our Kickstarters will have actually received their comics. So we're recording this on the last Monday of our Kickstarter. It's been a 3-week campaign this time, and it's been quite interesting because we've had a nice quiet week this week, but we had an extremely busy couple of first weeks, and I felt like personally that we'd really organised the Kickstarter this well. So Steve Bull has just disappeared. I'm sure we'll be back in a minute, and I was going to ask Steve a little bit about the Kickstarter. But let's go around here and let's give people a chance to introduce themselves in a minute. So we'll start with Joe Healy. Hi, Joe. How are you?
Hello, I'm good. Looking forward to the chat.
Excellent. Yeah, absolutely. So this is what we do on Mondays. Anyway, we meet up, the directors of the 77. And Joe, what's that new title behind you? I see on your filter.
Oh, that's the new comic strip that I've written for the 77, and it's called Red by Night, Black by Day. Anybody from the Midlands might recognise that phrase. It specifically means, or is sort of likened to the Black Country, that during the Industrial Revolution, the skies at night were red from the forges, from the industry that was being created, and during the day it was black because it was from the smoke from the coal. And so I've written primarily a love song to my roots, to my heritage, but thrown in a bit of a fantasy alternate history vibe to it. So I'm looking at it from an angle where it's an alternate history. So John Dee, the Queen Elizabeth I astronomer, occult magician, spy master, has accidentally discovered a series of spells, and he's managed to open a portal into another dimension, and these supernatural creatures pour through, and basically that sets the scene for the strip that's going to appear in the next issue, where we are then nearly 200 years later, and these poor creatures from the portal are now subjugated. They are now under the thrall of the House of Dee, because he goes on to marry Queen Elizabeth. And these creatures are basically ghettoed into the Midlands. And it goes on from there, and there's various characters from history, real people, scientists, and it's a fusion of the English Enlightenment as well. So you've got that period of history where science started making leaps and bounds, with people like Priestley, Watt, Matthew Bolton, and basically it's a mix of fantasy, a bit of science, alternate history.
Oh, thank you so much for that discussion there about Black by Night, Red by Day. Black by Day, Red by Night. And obviously we were working up until our deadline for issue 5 of the 77 on a prologue, which is all your own work, and that's fascinating insight into the kind of recorded history, or as you're saying, and that book, that the idea is that the template of the book is about 16th century sort of spell book.
It's I'd say it's probably about 70 to 80 years after Sir John Dee makes this fantastic discovery, and it's sort of like a fake chapbook or fake occult grimoire that sets a scene, as it were.
Right. But, you're certainly quite different than the other strips, I think, and you've seen the type of balanced strips that we have in there.
Absolutely.
What made you go? What genre would you actually sort of say it's fitting?
Cool. Fantasy. I mean, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
There's certain nod to Tolkien, because again, you've got that whole back history of the Midlands being this hive of industry, and Tolkien obviously was inspired with Mordor. He based that the Lakes of Fire and what have you actually on the Black Country and sort of the drop forges and whatnot. So yeah, I'd definitely say fantasy, but a bit of alternate history, potentially a bit of steampunk in there, because I do have a bit of a hidden love for steampunk. So something like that might appear.
Fantastic. Well, congratulations. I think it's going to be very popular with the readers. The artwork's superb. It's by Rupert Lewis Jones, who also his work kind of in his last strip, the Spring Heeled Jack basis, was that? Would you say that strip? I'm trying to remember. It was written by.
It was Dinner
Jim
with
Thompson.
a Demon, and I really loved his style.
Yeah.
The black and white, but obviously this is colour. And I've seen some riffs for the next strip, which will be issue 6, 7, and it's just amazing. It really is amazing.
Well, thanks for telling us, because obviously it's your debut story in the 77. I'm going to chat to a couple of people now. Obviously, people have been reading the 77 from issue 1. Would be very interesting to know sort of input about these guys. Now, we have 2 writers with us. We have Steve Bull and we have Dave Healy. So Steve Bull is penning V, which I was discussing with someone even just yesterday, and I found myself discussing several different genres, but I felt that it was a kind of action strip, and those who know anything about Space Warp, which has been written and published by Mills Publishing, Pat Mills, would know Aid Hughes, who's actually one of our artists and has produced 5 parts of V now. So, Steve, how's that going? We've changed from the beginning there. It started off in black and white.
Yeah, yeah, it has indeed. I think got a bit of pressure for that, didn't we? So quite a few purists wanted to stay black and white, but I think for the benefit of the publication, we moved it to colour, and it's worked out really well, because we've got Darren Stevens on colour, who does an exceptional job, and Aid's art speaks for itself, to be fair. So I'm just kind of there as a guest to just keep things moving along. The strip itself is based on Canaanite mythology, to be honest with you, even though it's set in the future. It's part of mythology called the Bell Cycle, that is a Ugaritic script. So if anybody wants to Google that, they'll sort of know who the characters are and a bit of where they're going, because it's a loose retelling of that. As you said, Aid comes in, though, blows it away with the art. Darren on the colours now, it's exceptional. We're doing a little mix-up. I can break something for you today, where we're doing a switch around for the annual. I know we're going to talk a little bit more about the annual later, but we're going for a little bit of a switch around. So Dave Healy, who's with us at the moment, he's penned his Division 77 strip, and that picks up Aid as the artist, which is it's going to be a nice touch. We've already seen some of the stuff from him, and it's going to blow you away, to be honest with you. And then I can break this one today because I've just signed it up with our man Ian Stopforth, who is he's breaking down doors at the moment. He's going to do the V story for the annual. So
fantastic.
How'd you like that?
Brilliant.
In the V story, that's super. So a little bit there, you're into episode 5 of V. It's one of our stalwart stories, that and Dave's Division 77. It's constantly up there in the sort of readers survey choices. You're sticking with it, but you've also got, and you've mentioned, you've got the major project of undertaking of editing an annual. I've had a little bit of experience of editing. Steve McManus has had an awful lot of it.
I get to do your job, lads.
Maybe you could tell us, Steve Bull, how you're finding that process. And I'll also suggest actually that Andrew Richmond, because he worked with me very, very tightly with Blazer, and we'll be chatting about that. So I'll be kind of contributing really as talking about editing. We'd love to chat to Steve McManus in a bit about Blazor. Andrew's also been editing. So just then, Steve, a little bit about can you tell us potentially when people might be first hearing about it, promotion,
Yeah, sure.
and then when it might be coming out, and how we can finance it?
First off, as a gig editing, as my first gig, I probably should have started with something around about
Steve,
what was
you're just
Blazor?
breaking up there a minute, mate.
Are we back? Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, you're good.
Excellent. Yeah, I was going to say, as it's my first editing gig in full, I probably should have started something with maybe the length of Blazor, 36 pages, was it? But we're going straight in with 100. I think we're up to about 100. Let's have a quick look. There's still some jigging, but it's currently sitting about 136 pages, which that's going to be some fun. I will have a big shout out here to Andrew Richmond and Steve and yourself, Ben, on the Blazor. I thought that came out exactly what I was looking for to start with. The graphics, the front cover, the way it read, the feeling you got, the nostalgia, you smashed it. So fantastic. I think there might have been a hiccup along the way, but who cares about that?
I mean, just to work with Steve McManus and have a chance of that. But Andrew, I've got to say, Andrew, your input in terms of just how you absolutely nailed the front cover and the feel of it.
Thank
everyone, I mean, you know, obviously we've got quite a few people who quite highbrow have said some amazing things about it, which is very, very positive. But there's just the small details like the foxing of the paper, obviously throughout the feel of the choice of the typeface, how we worked on the colour and those sorts of things. So why don't we have a very quick chat first, Andrew, if you don't mind. Steve, can you unmute so we can say hi and we can hear you back? That's okay.
What, me unmute?
Yeah,
you go.
Yeah,
oh,
come
okay.
on, Steve. We'd all
The
like to know
gang's
how
back
you
together.
Hi, everyone. Hi, everyone.
Hi, Steve.
Hi, Joe, Steve, and many others.
So it's been quite a spring then, Steve, hasn't it?
Yes, 2021. The Prussian, no, what was it? The Czech spring, when Dubček was chucked out by the Russians. I hope we're not chucked out by the Russians. That's your history lesson for today.
Thanks, Steve.
You're welcome.
So 1974, was it a pretty monumental year for you, wasn't it, Steve? I'm trying to remember. For me, I was just
looking today. I was just looking today at some old Action covers, Action comic, and I found one that had the top line was with a picture of me. It said, "Hi, I'm Steve McManus. I'm Action Man. Join me inside to see me go skiing." So I never knew I'd make the cover of a comic, which is just great.
Well, you're going to be front and center of the promotion for number 2, and I think what we'll do is we'll probably edit some graphics into this. So we've got a wonderful image which one of the artists for one of the strips, one of my favorite strips, Derringer and Son, Colin Maxwell, who's a lecturer in animation up in Dundee, and also writes for Commando. So you've seen this now, Steve, haven't you? Do you really own a yellow tracksuit? Is what I want to know. And have you still got your chopper bike? Because you haven't, haven't you? You are astride your chopper.
No.
Probably not. Maybe. I don't know. I have to ask Andrew. He's the art editor. Whether it's going to be on the front cover or whether it will just be a back page poster or something. I don't know.
I do think we should have Steve as a little cutout on the cover somewhere now, homaging what he just told us about the old Action.
Yeah.
I think it will be a lovely.
Yeah.
What could do those paper clip-on outfits?
Yeah, little cutouts with outfits that you clothe. Yeah, we could have Action Man. Yeah, potentially.
Yeah.
Or a mask. Someone's mentioned an Action Man mask. A
Steve McManus mask. Yeah. So we could all wear them.
Well, I was going to use that image inside, actually, as part of an editorial competition, win a Blazor bike, as modelled here by And I
Yes.
haven't got a name yet for that man on there. But I was thinking, I was going to say to Andrew, maybe we can get this on the cover as well. You know,
Yeah.
win a Blazer bike. It
Yeah.
sounds just about right, doesn't it, guys?
And of course,
Girls.
what you actually win is just a picture of the bike. That's all you win.
Or we can
You
find
get
a
a
scrap.
nice-
We can find a scrap bike from somewhere, can't we? You know, ship it fancy. So it's brilliant to have you on board again, Steve. It's always a
Yeah.
pleasure. We've done a few of these conversations, and I don't know. You're obviously in demand because in Lawless, you're going to be part of, I believe, is it 3 extra or 3 additional conversations potentially? I believe there's a battle of the editors. Are you aware of this? Is it Fleetway IPC versus DC Thompson, Callum Laird, and some other people?
Oh, do you know what that was? That was going to be Colin Noble's idea, who, you know,
Yeah.
bless his soul,
Yeah.
recently departed.
Absolutely.
It was he rang me up, and we were on the phone 46 minutes, and he was telling me about this battle of the editors, and I was just going, sure.
Mm-hmm.
His enthusiasm, it was like a, you know, tsunami of love for everything we do in this industry. So, but I thought with his passing, that may have, you know, fallen by the wayside.
No, it's not really. It's going to be more of a. I'm not sure if it's going to be recorded or it's actually going to be a live event. So Sue Hadrell, involved with Lawless, has asked me to kind of compare it. So I'm wondering if you could actually help out. Do you know Barry Tomlinson?
No.
He's a bit reluctant. I'm trying to get him on board. He's like, Lawless, what's that? That sounds a bit, you know. He's kind of, but he's worked for us on the 77, but I don't really know him very well. But I'm trying to explain to him, you know, I think he knows what Zoom is. I mean, you know, we all know what Zoom is this year. Anyway, Steve. So Blazer started off obviously with the Sheer Glam Conspiracy. From the 77's publications perspective, I stepped in and asked, could we use 2 of the strips? The first strips in our first 2 issues of the 77, which was, remind me, it was the Tinkling Triangles by Brendan, and who was the collector by? Do you recall?
Charlie Gillespie.
That's right. And in fact, you have a connection with Charlie Gillespie. Is that correct? Going back, or?
Yeah, I think that's one of the reasons he agreed to do it. Was I knew him from way back when he was doing some work on, I don't know, maybe the Dread magazine. But yeah.
So I want to see if you've got any other connections here, Steve. Below you, I don't know on the panel you're seeing, but we've got Ben McLeod. And
I can't see
Ben's
Ben, yeah.
a 2000 AD droid. And am I right saying, Ben, you were with Andy Diggle his time? Is that correct? He's giving us semaphore.
We don't say it.
Yeah, no one. Who's got Zoom bingo?
You're on mute there, Ben.
Go bingo!
Okay.
1, 2, 3. You're on mute. Hello, Ben. How are you? Just so you heard the question.
Yeah.
So were you a diggle? A diggle droid? Is that what you were?
I was initially a diggle droid. I was, and then
a Smith,
later. Yeah, and I lasted to the. I guess it was quite early days with you know, Matt Smith, and then I was at uni, and I was going the fine art route at the time, and I got very highbrow, and believe it or not, I turned down a little bit of work for 2000 AD because I was in my final year and I was doing my dissertation. And so and that was actually the last time that I did some work for them. So it was a while ago, but it was great. It was great to be involved. So yeah,
well, fantastic.
I know Charlie Gillespie as well. He lived in Canterbury for a while. So I met him. God, yeah, we're talking like 20 years ago. So I was pretty good friends with him at the time, and for a couple of years we hung out together, and he showed me a few tips. Painting tips that I think he Simon Bisley, like a lot of people do. So there's connections everywhere, really.
Charlie did a great job on The Collector, which was part of Sheer Glam Conspiracy, which rolled on to become Blazer. And Charlie's also going to be back for people interested. Not certainly, I think it's either issue 6 or 7, working with a guy called Martin Fisher, who is Star Wars Lego guy, which I think is Panini. I'm not totally sure, but he's a pro writer. And it's got something called Disposal, which is a kind of an underground world, literally. I've seen some of the work for it, and Charlie's work is just... I really wish he would just give us full page frames. You know, I wish we could give him 20 pages or so. He likes to tighten things in, and his work is just so detailed, and we all really love it. So, Ben, I'm afraid to say we'll be saying goodbye to you for a short while, because we've been talking about issue 5 of the 77 coming out. And yourself and Dave Bedford have just finished. Well, we can't have any spoilers. We can't have spoilers, Ben. But it's been an amazing series, and it's been a real one that's got under my skin. You know, the trackless depth. So maybe just give us a little bit about how it's evolved and your feelings about the piece.
Well, initially, I think I've been sort of vocal with you guys. Initially, I took it on as a bit of a challenge, because it wasn't really the sort of thing I would normally sort of jump into. You know, I'm a bit of a sci-fi nut, like a lot of us. But I really like the script, and the challenge of doing a period piece of artwork was what drew me to it, really, and the quality of the script. So it just had a really nice feel. The pacing was really nice. I won't spoil it. I'm not going to say anything about the end.
For someone who's not picked it up before, Ben, it's basically a nautical tale. Would you say it's Edwardian? We're looking around about
1870, I believe.
Okay, Victorian. Sorry, late Victorian, right?
Yeah, so 1870, set aboard a clipper, a Royal Navy clipper, and sailing into troubled waters, shall we say. They come across well, I don't want to give too much away, but a brooding presence beneath the waves. Let's call it that. That affects the crew, and the conclusion's pretty epic. It's great fun to draw. So I'm sad that it's kind of finished, but I think there may be more to come in a little while. I think there's some rumblings from the writer. We've got some.
My understanding is he may well be heading east. May well be heading east, Java or
I've heard some good things.
Indonesia or Japan.
I don't know if I can say. We'll leave that to Dave to say.
Absolutely. And I think really one of the things that's been a joy for me as the editor for the 77 is being able to get varying different styles of work. So we've talked about Joe's fantasy, Steve's action with Baal, Dave's war story, which we'll get onto in a minute. Yours, which is a kind of suspenseful thriller as far as it goes, as far I'm concerned. And then puffing away on a fag below us, probably the most hardcore of our artists in terms of his attitude and what he gives you on the page. And in fact, most of his artwork is off the page. So why don't we say hello to Andy Sawyers? So you're doing, mate? And we are recording, so no swearing, please, mate. Okay. Yeah, I'm good, mate. It's been hard to hold. Get hold of, I know. So we're saying, Andy, this is going out by the time that the 77 will be being released. So all the Kickstarters will have had it, and it should be going retail. And you yourself and Ben have got covers, so you can share the love if you want. You can talk about Ben's cover. You can talk about your cover. Well, tell us a little bit about your cover work.
Actually, I'm going to talk a little bit about Ben's cover quickly. I really fell in love with that, and we had 2 seconds. Let me move. Really fell in love with Ben's cover. In fact, we had a discussion about it last week, and this wasn't us joking around. Just like if you flipped it and had the sunset, and then the front on the back, and just the way the whole story reads, it's really magical. It's just like two lovely bookends to an absolutely fantastically written and illustrated story. So that cover is just, it's the perfect full stop to it. But I know maybe it'll come back. So.
Well, I'd like to say at this point, basically, Steve Bull has been pretty much working on the covers. So we try and split up the work. So Steve, you went through a pretty lengthy process with yourself, with Andy. Ben and Neil, obviously, who did the standard cover. Do you want to tell us a little bit about one of the, about those covers and what sort of things you were involved in?
Yeah, I mean, it's a bit of a mixed bag, to be fair. So we had the standard cover, which you'll probably see a little insert now, I imagine, which is the pandemic cover, which is quite explosive. That's where myself and Brendan would get most heavily involved, actually, because the standard cover is kind of our brand, really, with the way it presents. So we just had to make sure, to be honest, Neil did an amazing job with that cover, and it could have sat there exactly how it was. He had good ideas to actually bring it out of the page, and what we did is we just took those ideas and we just made sure that it worked. And Brendan, again, did a cracking job with the graphics on it, putting it through. And I'm kind of the so where you had Andrew Richmond on Blazer earlier, just them details. That's probably me on it. It's just I'm obsessed by the detail, so it's just trying to make sure everything on that cover worked. Now, when it came over to Ben and Andrew Sawyers was a bit. They were it was chalk and cheese. I think Ben already. By the time I got involved with Ben, he was already. I looked at the thumbnails. We were getting on. It was good. I liked the idea for it because it was going to be a wrap to start with, and then it presented basically 2 images of the same story. There's not a lot because these are the artist variants. We try to present the art as close to the original as possible. We're not trying to dress it up. We're just trying to drop a little 77 logo on it. And unfortunately, we've got to stick a barcode on somewhere. That's probably it, and that's what ruins it. But yeah, then there, as you just said about the sunset, I think Andrew was just saying there, I could take the back cover and I could frame that and put it on my wall. I'd be quite happy with that, I think. So it's just a beautiful piece. When we go to Andrew Sawyers, Andrew is just rock and roll. That's it. It's just, everything's just, it's lights, it's noise, it's all there on the page. So we went through, that was probably the lengthy one, wasn't it, Sawyers? Because we do like a chat, don't we? So what we did is we had lots of conversations about what it was going to be. Originally, we were going to take some ideas from some historic comics that everybody would recognise, and we just took it. It kind of went full circle, and then Sawyer's come up with some great ideas. I tell him no on a few of them. He gets the ump. I then say yes to a couple. He gets on with it, and then that's the process we have. And what you got there was you just got a hell of a lot of energy there. It's come out of the page, the colours, everything. It's all of these covers are going to blow people away for completely different reasons. So I don't know if the guys want to get involved and talk a little bit more. It's up to you.
Tell him. Someone tell him.
Sawyers, you're on mute, mate. We got to hear that voice. Oh no, where's he gone?
Is that better?
Yeah, there he is. How you doing, mate? You tell it better than me.
The whole collaborative process, I think that was not the most enjoyable thing about it, but I think that's what's good about working on the 77. There's a real sort of community spirit, and I think it was just really fun to be part of issue 5, where just everyone seemed to sort of have all hands to the pumps and was just really sort of pushing out. So I guess for me, that kind of came out in the cover, that sort of energy that was going on in the virtual office, as it were. But the process was pretty straightforward.
I've got to say, Andrew, I was discussing with Steve earlier today, just on a message, about how much we'd been checking and reviewing and proofing issue 5 of the 77, and this has got to come from the fact the work that I did with Andrew Richmond with Blazer. So going through that, so it's fascinating. We got people here involved in art editing. Okay, we've got the artists as well. I wonder if we could just spare a little bit of time, because he's been very quiet and hasn't had a chance to say anything yet. And that's it's almost still his birthday. Okay, he's 28 years old. He's our youngest member. That's Dave Healy. Okay.
Hello.
And
Yeah.
Dave. Yeah, Dave, you've got a slightly new role. Obviously, we can talk about Division 77. Amazing work that we're getting this time round. And you've had you're going to have worked with 3 artists. One of our first stories to work with 3 artists. So obviously, Sinclair Elliott really nailed the look of the strip with you.
Indeed, yeah.
Co-creator on the original 77. You've worked with Gary Burley and moving forward, but we've just heard that you're working with Hal Larron, so Marvel comic, guru really.
Yeah.
Very different style there. But also you've got another role as well, Dave, and we can chat about that in a minute. So a little bit about Division 77 first, if you like. And can I just remind myself, because who's doing the artwork for the annual? Is that Aid? Because
It's Aid, yeah, four artists, yeah. I'm working my way through them. I don't know whether it's because I'm annoying them or I'm just very lucky.
Has Sawyers asked if you can have a go yet? Has he asked yet?
Oh, I've got my eyes on Ben and Andrew. Don't worry about that. As soon as Ben said, "Oh, I love sci-fi," right? That's it. That's going to the book.
It's worth pointing out.
Annual 2, you're mine.
At its moment, it's completely worth pointing out that it is issue in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's the most popular strip that we have in the 77, and it's worth shouting that one out. Even if it's 2 pages occasionally or whatever it is, 4 different artists, it's going to be the most popular going forward as well, I'm sure.
Yeah, I've been really blessed. I mean, fantastic. I mean, the writing's okay, I suppose, but the artists I've had have been amazing. I've been very lucky as well. It's probably the most 2000 AD like strip, so it could. I think a lot of our fans sort of naturally gravitated towards that, and now they're seeing the amazing other work that we're putting into the 77 as well. Sinclair did a brilliant job for the first 4 issues. We've now got Gary Burley on board, who's going to be doing the second arc as well, because we've wrapped up arc 1 with this. We've got a origin story in issue 6 with Hal Larron, and the work, I mean, that's already in the bag, and it's just unbelievable. The art is just insane. He's a monster. And then sort of like, I think it's going to take about a 3-issue break to give Gary time to sort of like get on top of it, because I do want to get away from that being stuck with just 2 pages. I want 5, 6 pages every time, because I think the readers deserve that, and it's what people want. So we're going to be coming back with that, and in the meantime we're going to have the annual, and I've seen a couple of pages Aid's done already, and it's just like I couldn't be happier. I
might have seen a couple of them as well, and
fully painted as well. It's just ridiculous.
Pretty stunning stuff, right?
Yeah, and it's been a challenge as well, because of it being an 8-page story for the annual. It's like sort of like I'm having to learn new techniques in writing myself, because I'm new to the game in the same way that a lot of the artists are. So yeah, it's been really interesting. I've thoroughly enjoyed it, and going forward, we got other strips coming into it. I've got Silver Jubilee starting with Andrew next. In issue 6, which is going to be amazing as well. But then we'll be coming back with Division 77 in. I think Ben wants it back in issue 7, but it's going to be about issue 9. I think maybe 10 when it comes back. But yeah, I've been very blessed. I'm really happy with it, and it's good stuff.
Oh, Ben, you're on mute, Emmy. Yep.
So we're talking of things neither muted or coming back. We got Blazer 2. Obviously we're absolutely thrilled about that, and one of the guys who was involved heavily with the artwork in Blazer 2, in Blazer, was Andrew, because he was an art editor. And which strip did you do, Andrew, in Blazer?
I did Sheriffs of Nottingham, which is, I'm really looking forward to seeing where Steve takes the second part.
I don't know, Newark? Some other part of Nottinghamshire? I don't know. You tell me where he's going to take it.
Sheriffs of the other Nottingham. I'm sure that's the whole point. I mean, yeah, it was just a fantastic. It was a pleasure to work with Steve. I think we all have to still pinch ourselves that we get to illustrate some of his brilliant stories. And with that crazy dialogue, I mean, the dialect, I mean, I'm from the Midlands, and some of that dialect, I was like, wow, that's just, what was it, Gizagrocki? Because we used to call them backies, but yeah. But then coming up with the look and feel of it as well. I mean, we just tried to, wasn't it, just to mainline that mid-70s vibe, as you said, right the way down to the foxing and the zipper tone.
Yeah.
I mean, I think I got an email from Steve when we were in the middle of doing it, and he's going, "That's exactly what my art guys would have done for me." you know, to get the sort of the starburst effect and the half tone. It was, yeah, it's a joy.
It's funny, isn't it? Because when you read more and speak to some guys who are working, you know, in a different era, and you understand that the writers and the artists and the editors really never met, apart from maybe occasionally an artist might drop some artwork off, or, you know, a writer might, you know, go for a drink, I suppose, or something with another. And here we are, we're doing this Zoom because we have to, because of the way that, you know, COVID has brought out the year.
Yeah.
I would say actually it's, and Andrew Sawyers mentioned it as well, and I think other people have brushed on this, is that collaborative nature that really allows people to, you know, go backwards and forwards quite rapidly in terms of checking and developing and modeling work. So obviously I want to broach another point here, and that with Blazer 2 coming out, you're going to be working at that. And then do you want to tell us, I'd like maybe you, Joe, maybe to have a, you know, little while here to obviously discuss, Joe, a new title, which is definitely going to go ahead. We're going to be kickstarting, I think, after Blazer 2, so it's going to be towards the end of the year. And a release for I think we're looking at the spring next year. So I don't really want to say too much about it. I mean, we talk about it, myself and you, but it's your title. Andrew's going to be your art editor, and can't be sure if anyone here is working with you on it, but maybe you want to just go ahead and give us a little bit about, you know, an exclusive new title.
Well, firstly, I think Dave said that he felt blessed. I feel absolutely blessed that Andrew is joining the new publication from 77 as art editor, because one of our first sort of virtual meeting together, we were just bouncing ideas, and it was amazing. It was like a proper foil to bounce all these ideas from. And also we were very much on the same page, which was amazing. Got the same cultural references and probably the same sort of cultural experiences as well. So the new publication is going to be a comic anthology called Pandora. I grew up in the 80s, being the older sister to Dave, seeing as he's only 28. But I was very, very fortunate in that I could read my brother's 2000 ADs, I could read Battle, I could read all these comics that were coming into the house, but I could also read Misty and Tammy, and whereas like the male members of my family were possibly a bit more reticent to read these comics, and Pandora is going to be a sort of, not a homage, but more a knowing nod to those comics, those fantastic, eerie, I mean, there was science fiction and also social realism as well. So those comics of sort of late 70s and 80s that potentially were aimed at young women and girls. But with this one, it's going to be more inclusive, because I don't want to realising now when I read comic forums and pages where you see men basically saying, I wished I'd read that when I was younger. I didn't have a chance to read this when I was younger. I want it to be more inclusive. So we've got some amazing scripts that have been submitted, and I'm afraid I'm going to be very similar to Dave and say our open call for submissions is closed for issue 1, but it's a wonderful mix of fantasy. Andrew Richmond, his idea, because he will be appearing in it, but that's a definite, because his story was just so, the pitch was just brilliant. A sort of, is it Neolithic story, and it was something that I haven't seen in comics or even young adult literature for a long time. So that to me like really struck home.
And the plan is to fully paint it as well. So it's hopefully going to be, because I do a lot of watercoloring, and I do a sketch a day that's usually just buildings, but I've got a certain vision for this story that we're developing. Right. So yeah.
Is the format of it, am I right, Joe? Is it going to be more like Blazer insofar as it will be a standard length comic rather than the oversized 77, yeah?
Absolutely. When I saw Blazer, I was just like, yeah, that is it. That's the format I want. So it will be very similar to that, but obviously with a bit of a tweak. And like I say, it's a knowing nod rather than a homage, but we've got some ideas up our sleeves, particularly for covers, because we're obviously giving this nod to the 70s, but we also want to ensure that readers know that this is a 21st century publication.
Yeah.
So, like I say, there'll be a few surprises up the sleeves, and I'm hoping. I mean, we're in April now. We're looking for a spring schedule for publishing. So I'm hopeful by at least the end of May we can start really letting people know who's going to be on board with it. Just so you know, it will be a mix of science fiction, little bit of because I quite like the mystical folkloric stories, so we've got one of those. We've also got a beautiful story which well, there's two actually that when I read them sort of inspired a lot of tears. So there's some really beautiful stories in there. It's not the 77 by any means. It's a comic anthology, but it's going to be very different, and hopefully readers will actually like it and back us on it.
And also the design format that we've been discussing is pretty unique. I don't think I've ever seen a comic done in how we are hopefully going to do it.
Yeah.
You know, it's pretty, yeah. I mean, I get accused of coming up with ideas and then coming up with 3 more ideas on top of that idea. And I think that was one that actually worked. It was a really, yeah. Pretty fired up by it. And we've got to squeeze it in, because I'll just talk about me very briefly. I've not told many people, but I'm expecting one. My wife's expecting, so I'm going to be a dad again. So in September this year, we don't know if it's a boy or a girl. I've got 2 daughters from another relationship, and the eldest was 20 last week, so she's going to have a baby brother or sister.
Oh.
So yeah, so I'm going to be a new middle-aged dad. So I've got all that to look forward to. So the comics will be keeping us going, as always, doing the art.
Well, didn't Blazer come to publication literally as you were moving house, Andrew?
Yeah, we were moving house, and you were basically saying, yeah, we've just got a few more corrections. As I was like taking the boxes out, packing the computer up.
Yeah,
but no, it's all good. We love it. Someone
So
I always
I think
say on things. Yeah.
I'd like to. I mean, we can kind of basically open up the conversation, but I was just going to put in as a theme. There's 2 things: is the collaboration and the communication between everybody that we really kind of try and just work with and not put any barriers up. And obviously, the second is our building on that, our networking, and community building, which has led to us, I think, really establishing a genuinely successful nurturing kind of fundraising method that we're using in the Kickstarter. So someone who might not know about that, would anyone, Steve, you're a bit of a Kickstarter man, you know about Kickstarter. Do you want to tell us a little bit about what Kickstarting is and how we do ours, maybe?
It's Steve, yeah? All right.
Yeah, Steve.
Not a big Steve. All right.
Well, he can have a go, but all he knows
okay, so
we do a Kickstarter and we raise money.
I think if we take it back to the beginning of this, when Ben said, I want to do a comic, which was a long time ago, and me and Dave Healy said, you're mad, Ben.
No, you said off you go.
Yeah, I think it was something like that, wasn't it?
So we do it.
I think we was discussing about how, we talked about loans, we talked about lots of things, but actually it's what we had and what we had cultivated, I think, at the beginning was we had these groups on Facebook that we'd all worked together with for a number of years and had built a really good community. And through that community, we basically drew a lot of talent to the comic, which actually made the comic a success to start with. But also we worked out that what we can do is we can use that community to see whether there was a product that they wanted to buy. And then by doing that, it then took it to its nth degree, basically, with crowdfunding. So crowdfunding, for those who don't know, is we use a platform called Kickstarter. I believe other platforms are available. But it means you basically go on there and you work out what your overheads are going to be, how you can pay whoever needs to get paid, although I think we did it by just trying to cover the overheads to begin with, and we've just started to get a bit more professional on this to be able to pay a page rate, etc., and, well, guarantee a page rate, rather. And what you do is you can run your campaign, which we run generally for about 30 days. You set a target, and then you try to get people involved. So people who believe in what you're doing will then pledge an amount of money, whether it's for one comic, whether it's for a piece of artwork that we've put on there as a pledge. And what happens if you can hit your target within that 30 days, those pledges all become released funds to you for you to go ahead and make that project happen. And what we've been incredibly successful and lucky that people believe in us. They've seen what we put out. I think when we first got into this and began to start this, everybody was talking about it as a fanzine. Not that there's anything wrong with fanzines, but we wanted to make a comic. We wanted it to be original IP, which was a risk as well. And we wanted to do as good a job as possible. That was it. That's why there was many meetings, and we always hark back to that hotel we shared then. Just trying to get things right.
Steve, there'll always be Peterborough. There'll always be Peterborough.
There you go.
Different North Hotel. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. So what we did is we just tried to we wanted that feeling. We wanted to capture the nostalgia that we all had picking up comics as children and into adulthood, to be fair. There's still a lot of people loving and reading comics. All of us here are one of those people involved as well. And yeah, so what we did is we tried to give them a product that created that nostalgia and was of as high a quality as possible. We went to crowdfunding, Kickstarter. We got an amazing response. We produced number 1, and then we haven't really looked back, have we? Then just was like, well, how can we do number 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7? How do we do another one? How many more publications can we do? And everybody's like, Ben, relax. Come on, let's go one step at a time. That's crowdfunding.
Well,
that's the 77.
Absolutely. So I'm going to bring in, Andrew Sawyers, mate, you're going to have to unmute in a minute. You're going to have to have a think about this, because I'm picking you out because we've got Ben McLeod who's going to do some sketches for us this time, but you are the original kind of OG when it comes to the Kickstarter, although you weren't with us on issue 1. I did a tally up the other day, Andrew, with your cover from this issue, with your sketches. You often are so generous. 5 sketches you do, and you've got me out of you've dug me out of holes before when we've needed to get a sketch to someone short time because there's been a problem. For example, we used to do something as well, didn't we, Andy, where you used to put in pictures of faces of people in strips. Anyway, I've worked it out, mate. I owe you a clear grand. You have your Kickstarter, your own fundraising has raised us a grand. And basically people need to understand that, exactly, without everyone getting involved. I mean, I was thinking this the other day, guys. I totaled it up, and it's not the overall amount that's important, but I thought to myself, if I'd gone to a bank and if I'd got that money, we still would have spent it. We still wouldn't have probably even got 2 issues out. So there's something about, I think, fundraising and then budgeting and knowing what you're going to have to produce in issue 2 and learning from it and the process. So Andrew, mate, so tell us a little bit about some of the sketches you've done and stuff like that, because we can obviously put up a gallery of this stuff as well. So if you recall the sort of things you've been asked to do, because we do have something called the single character sketch. So by all means, give us some of the information.
I think the real special one was the first episode of The Cell. You'll all know who he is, John Burdis. And well, actually the request was to put his young son Sam into The Cell, but I had to put both of them in. And then we had a late call. Mr. Spence, who bravely works out there in the NHS. He's a good guy. He needed a home, so we also put him in The Cell. And then it sort of it grew from there. I think we then had Richard Frankham and his wife, his good lady. So they appeared in the cell. And I've forgotten the guy. He's a really nice guy. He's a teacher. And he's shown all the kids the 77 and they love it. And yeah, he's in the latest episode. So that's really cool. And then I think all the reward sketches, we've done everyone from Dredd to the Punisher to Batman, and then some really sort of like left field choices as well.
Yeah.
But they're fun to do. But I think the only thing is, I'm a fan myself. So doing all of this it's almost like it's really good fun to be out there with the readers. So that's what it's all about. So that's why I enjoy doing it so much.
I'll connect two of you right now, because I'm just thoughtful about the fact is that obviously, Andrew, you've built a relationship or a rapport with a very, 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 very top class artist. Started off, I believe that Steve McManus gave this guy his first gig. Said incredibly nice things about the name and the work that went into Blazer as well. So I'm going to ask you two, you can have a little bit. So, Andrew, did you know that Steve McManus employed Jock?
Yes, I did. And Jock said that he owes Steve a curry. So hopefully one day, Steve, he'll take you out for that curry.
So, Steve, do you remember what gig that was for Jock? Or it may well be because you were doing a prog a week or a magazine a month. I'm not going to blame you if you don't remember the strip, but would you recall when that was then Steve McManus?
Yes. It's kind of like Jock and his pal Dom, another artist of good repute, got all their money and put it on the kitchen table and figured they had enough to go from Devon to Glasgow Comic Con. This was 1988, perhaps. And when they got there, they showed their work to Glenn Fabry at the bar. And he said, "This is too good. You're going to get me out of the job. Go and find Steve McManus." So I was sitting at the end of a very long portfolio session. I was quite tired, as you would be. And in come these two guys, and I think, oh God, 2 more before I can get to the bar myself. But they showed me their work, and I said, yeah, we can do something with this. And when I got back to London after a couple of weeks, I don't know if it was Dom or Jock's mum, I rang the house, and the mum said to the Jock or Dom, "It's bloody Steve McManus on the phone." And I commissioned each of them, I think, to do just a pin-up, get them into the swing of things. And then, to be fair to Andy Diggle, after I'd left, I think Andy recognised Jock's. He chose Jock for the losers, and it went on from there.
Certainly did, and that guy is in such demand. He is one of the busiest artists anyone knows. I'm going to introduce. She's been sitting there quietly. She actually has probably met all of us. So maybe the only person here, although I don't know if her and Ben have met, so I don't know, but I've met Sue. I love Sue. She is just so awesome. And she's obviously the hostess with the mostess when it comes to Lawless. And we all pretty much went to Lawless and we decided we'd make a comic. When I met Steve, when I met these guys there. So, Sue Hadrill, how are you, Sue? It's lovely to see you.
Very well, thank you. No, it's really good to see you guys. It's been amazing listening to all your stories, actually. I'm quite happy here watching my own kind of private panel. It's wonderful listening to you guys and seeing you.
Thank you for the opportunity. We really appreciate it. So, guys, if you want to chat with Sue, we're just going to say that this is going out on the 15th of May. So that traditionally, Sue, would have been our Lawless weekend. And obviously, let's not complain because too many other people are having a really rotten time of it, but we miss Lawless, and thank you so much for making a virtual show for us, and we hope to meet up next year. So fantastic. So Sue, what else is happening over the Lawless weekend? What else have you got lined up?
So, now you put me on the spot because it's all happening at the same time now. So, this is so I'm used to very much organising a whole bunch of people to rock up at a hotel, which is actually quite easy in comparison to everything else. And turns out organising a digital Lawless is very, very different. But so it's been a steep learning curve, just coordinating lots of people to get online at different places. But it's coming together very, very nicely. We've got some great stuff happening on the day. We're doing doing a history of British comics with David Roach and a few others, Paul Gravitt and a whole bunch of others, because obviously they've worked on a lot of historical documentaries and books over the last sort of years, and they do a lot of online work as well, just research. So I thought it would be really nice actually to get them all in a room and have a gymwags, which is exactly what they're going to do. So we've got that on the day. John Charles is going to do some live colouring tutorials for everybody, so you can tune into YouTube and have a look at that as well. We've got some creator catch-ups, so individual, just one-on-ones with some of our creators, Glenn Fabry, Max Millgate, Mike Collins, just literally catching up with how they've been during lockdown and what they've been working on and the projects they've been doing and things like that. We've got, what else have we got? We've got amazing panels just come into me with Pat Mills and Ian Kennedy talking about what they've been working on and stuff. The Where Eagles Dare podcast have hosted that and had a really good chat with them last week. They've just sent it over to me, so that's going to get uploaded as well. So yeah, it's quite interesting getting all the names together that we would normally meet face to face, but there's quite a few artists who are obviously quite elderly or live quite far away who wouldn't normally be able to attend, and we've actually been able to do something with them as well, which has been really, really positive. So the Zoom, and like you guys were saying earlier, the whole community and just networking and people who know people who know people has been absolutely invaluable in putting these things together. So for you guys with organising the Kickstarters, and for me for doing something online, the amount of people who've sort of suddenly appeared out of the woodwork and go, oh, I do this and I can help with that because I know so-and-so, do you want a hand? And it's like, yes, amazing, that'll be awesome. And very much that's happened in the last kind of fortnight or so. A lot of people have just come together, and yeah, I think we're gonna have it's gonna be a nice day. There's gonna be a lot of content going up for everybody to watch and just catch up with all the creators they would normally see face to face, but we'll try and make it as good as we can, I think.
I think we were just going to mention it. I was going to mention again because I can't recall if it was Steve, but someone said, obviously, with regards to it wasn't really Battle of the Editors, but it was a kind of two houses of editors, DC Thompson and IPC and Fleetway. That was going to be compared by our good friend Colin Noble,
yes,
who we lost recently. It's been such a shock for everybody.
So sudden, yeah.
And the community is such a way that, you know, if you met him, you warmed to him. If you didn't meet him, you knew of him. And if you didn't know him, you actually have read some of, you know, people would be talking about him.
Yeah.
I'm hopefully going to be comparing that in his honour. And I just wanted to say as well, for those listening in from the 77, that we also have a part of our comic where it's not really a big nod, but basically back in the day when you used to pick up your 1000 AD or whatever from the newsagent, there'll be your name or the address of your street or whatever it was written sometimes on the comic that you'd be picking up from the newsagent. So friends of ours have had their names on, and important people for us. So issue 5, we're going to show this, I think, because obviously the comic will be out and we haven't had a full review. So we all had a chat about it, and we've put Colin's name on the front cover because
excellent.
For us, I mean, anyone who's into collecting comics understands the fervor that you get, you know, the interest and wanting to meet people, and Colin was just a genuine guy. So it's a shame, isn't it? Because he would have done a fantastic job.
He would,
really
he was so excited about doing the panel. I spoke to him over the phone, and he had so many ideas, and he was plotting and planning. And I was like, mate, just run with it. It's fine. Whatever you need to do, I'm here. We'll sort it. It's great. And yeah, literally. And it was sad because I left him to it, and then his name cropped up, and I was like, oh, I need to catch up with him because I need to just check on this. And then I got the news, and yeah, it was tough going. So it was very, very sudden.
Yeah, absolutely. It's almost like he's kind of one of our own, isn't he, really?
Yeah. I will announce it here, actually, because this is a good time to do it.
There we go. So, but as you said, I mean, we couldn't have some people. Do carry on, see.
I was going to say, I've a bit of an announcement, but it will be firmed up a bit more nearer the time. We're going to do a Colin Noble Award for each Lawless every year now going forward, where people can nominate a friend or anybody who they think deserves it, and we will choose somebody for whatever reason. It might even be out of a hat, but and we'll pay for their accommodation and a ticket for the Lawless for the show each year. So we'll do that every year. It'll be the Colin Noble
Brilliant.
Award, and nominations will be taken each year for persons who people want to go.
That's a great idea, isn't it? Brilliant.
Well,
That's fantastic.
it was one of those things. He always wanted to come and he couldn't make it for whatever reason, finances, or it was too far away, or just never got around to it. And I just wanted to take that idea of giving something to someone who couldn't normally make it, who would normally come along. You know, if they live in the middle of Scotland, then we'll get them to there and we'll sort it out. And that kind of sentiment mentality was behind it, of if you wouldn't normally make it, but for whatever reason, then we'll make sure you get there. And
Great
yeah.
idea.
So that's what's going to happen.
That's brilliant.
Going forward for Lawless,
Brilliant.
we'll do the Colin Noble Award.
Yeah.
So there you go. It'll fully announce,
Fantastic.
yeah.
So absolutely. So Lawless is going from strength to strength insofar as its reputation and future event. I imagine that you're looking at doing a 22. You know,
We certainly are. You guys are all invited to the 22 show, definitely. More than welcome to come along. All artists on board, we'd love you to come and show your face and do some sketches and everything. We'll stay in touch and we'll sort something out, definitely. The big news is next year's show, with all fingers crossed, we're doing a 2-day show. It'll be our first year. We're doing a 2-day show, Saturday and Sunday. I think Sunday will be slightly shorter, just to give artists and creators time to get home. But literally the only reason, just to tidy up and get home time for everybody. But yeah, it's going to be a big one next year. Oh, you're muted again.
Look forward to that. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, certainly.
Yeah, well be
Oh,
there.
again.
okay, so I've just had the notification that we're kind of getting to the end of our Zoom allowance on this call, if everyone can hear me. So thanks ever so much, everybody making it. We'll get edited up. The 77's out, Blaze coming, blazing towards the end of the year, Pandora next year. Lawless is going to be, you'll be watching Lawless and getting involved when you see this. And
certainly, yeah.
To 22. So just wanted to thank everybody it's been a pleasure to see. Well, thank you very, very much, and have a fantastic Lawless for everyone else who's going to be taking part in the virtual convention. So thanks very much, and we can all say cheers, guys.
Yeah.
Lovely chatting, guys.
Lovely.
Well done.
Cheers, guys. Thank you.
Don't forget
Thank
to
you.
buy issue 5 and Blazer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And thank you to every fan who ever bought the comic as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because we wouldn't be here without you.
Incredible response. Thank you.